This is Erik Lindström, head of IT at Factory. He has held this position for 11 years, during which not a single object on his desk has moved more than 3 centimeters from its original position. And this is his twin brother Magnus, head of IT at Factory B. They are, by all accounts, completely different people. Every morning at exactly 8:47, Erik aligns his keyboard 2 millimeters to the left. Magnus, who arrives at 8:46, aligns his 2 millimeters to the right. Erik drinks tea, Earl Grey, no milk. He believes milk in Earl Grey is a sign of weak character. Magnus drinks coffee, black, double shot. Erik protects his network with WithSecure elements. Magnus went with something else. This is the only difference that isn't a matter of preference. Same industry, same infrastructure, same Tuesday. At 3 minutes past 9, both their phones ring. Same Tuesday, different outcome.
Hello everyone. My name is Hannu Simonen, and joining me today is my co-host Jarno Niemela. We are going to talk about proactive security, and not only talk about but also demonstrate it using a live attack.
Hello, I'm Jarno Niemela, and today we are going to see attacker operating at machine speed and why reactive security is no longer enough. So you will see a live attack succeed against well-configured environment and done by best practices, actually a lot better than many of the real-world organizations are.
Our first target company, Company B, has pretty good setup. They have Windows 11 machines with latest updates, good security posture, including internal firewall setup, which essentially prevents internal recon or lateral movement attempts. So in order for the attacker to succeed, they would first need to escalate privileges to turn off the firewall.
Okay, and I'll show you how the attackers are going to work these days. So we have a scenario where the attacker has fooled a code agent to write an attack tool for them. So the code agent thinks that it's doing a systems maintenance tool. It's searching for vulnerable software on the device where it's running, and it's patching them. Too bad that the patch is actually a malicious payload. And this kind of attacks are actually pretty common, and the vulnerabilities they are going to use are far more common than people realize. In our customer environment, we have found more than 90,000 hosts that are vulnerable for these kind of issues. And these are not software vulnerabilities only. Some of them are, and we have gotten CVE IDs for them. Some of them are a combination of system misconfiguration and malfunction and software. And those are almost impossible to get vendor to correct. So they are never ever going to get CVE, and they are never ever going to get patched. And we have actually been finding vulnerabilities in customers' in-house software. And that's going to be your reality tomorrow. The AI is going to treat every system with the attention that system deserves, which unfortunately means that if your system has a single vulnerability, just a single vulnerability existing only on that computer, nowhere else, AI is capable of finding that.
The attack you are about to witness is called zero-day attack. 0 days are these vulnerabilities where there is no patch. available, or even possible in some cases. They are quite elusive also to find. But now, with the AI tools, it gets easier. So the attackers also are utilizing these AI tools to find quite interesting zero-day vulnerabilities. You might have heard about Mythos, for instance. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Of course, these are ideal for attackers as there is no patch available. And attackers are also able to scale up all phases of the attack using the AI tooling. So the cybersecurity game is really changing. So it's no longer about how fast can you respond, but it's how fast can you detect the vulnerabilities that matter and mitigate them pre-zero day.
So, the attacker is looking for privileged files that they can replace. And if any of you have attended the disobey during the previous disobey, I actually was talking there about the theory of this one. So obviously we have been doing research about this before. So the particular vulnerability we are using as a demonstration is a vulnerability that combines Citrix system telemetry component, which is running as a system, and then a misconfiguration or malfunction in the host. And this one was detected at 5 of our customers, and those customers have already been notified well before this presentation. And this vulnerability is delivered by classic social engineering. So basically a click fix, after which attacker binary gets running, and then the system gets taken over. And as you can see, Hannu is demonstrating the victim side, while I have a hands-off computer is doing everything from the attacker side. I might be having coffee or drinking beer, and the attack would still happen.
So I, as a victim, have received this link that looks completely legit and clicked that. And hey, there's security verification. So hey, it must be secure. So let's do that, just that, and follow the instructions. So apparently browser is out of date, and apparently I need to do something about it. So let's do, because this is coming from source I trust, or I think at least so.
And obviously, a real victim would use just Windows R, but this is Hyper-V environment, so that would open the wrong machine. So we are using command prompt.
Yes. So looking completely legit. Right.
Okay, let's have a look at the attacker side. And there we have it. Right now, it seems that it unfortunately doesn't, we have having a bit of a demo effect, so it doesn't scroll high enough in the display. But on the bottom right, it is scanning for vulnerabilities, and it found the vulnerable Citrix component, and it's replacing that, and relatively soon okay, and now the firewall started. The payload started, and as a proof of privilege escalation, it disabled the local firewall and Windows Defender so that the attacker can drop further components. So there you go, firewall is off.
And now I'm kind of wondering that I don't even myself have privileges to turn off the firewall. And somehow the firewall is now turned off, and in order to start it again, I don't have the rights, so I would need to call IT to do that. So let's do just that, and the
Here
IT
comes
guy
the
will come.
IT. And then everything's fixed. Now firewall is back on. But we have to remember, attacker is in there, and it seems that the firewall went off again before I even could walk back here. So that's the thing. Once attacker gets host in their control, it will remain in their control. And there also we are already seeing the output from the attacker's command and control server. That's basically what the attackers do. They don't really see, Metasploit like shell anymore, where they actually type commands. Now what they're doing is that they're watching AR logs. Everything is automated.
Now, if this company would have had Elements XDR, they would have seen this attack there, and there would have been major incident. But that's perhaps not the best we can offer for this type of situations.
Yeah, so of course the problem with the reactive security is that when attackers are operating this fast, humans responding is no longer enough. So obviously the EDR telemetry is vital, and also the reactive capabilities in case attackers don't get to act this fast. So the question is that what we are going to do in order to slow down the attacker. So the attacker needs to be contained on the initial compromised host until the defender has time to react. So this has become a game of buying time. And by having a well-configured and well-hardened hosts, you are buying that time. So you have a single machine infected, okay, that needs to be restored. But that is still completely different than multiple machines or even the whole network being compromised. So what we are doing with the proactive security is not only trying to keep the attackers away. Obviously, we try to do that because completely blocked attack is the cheapest. But the second cheapest, which we also need to ensure, is that the attacker cannot get out from the initial compromised host. We need to be able to keep the attacker there as long as possible in order to buy defender time.
Okay, let's look at another company then.
So here we have same attacker. Attackers try to replicate success. They will try the same methods as long as they get return on investment.
Except now this company A has a good fortune of having reliable and cybersecurity savvy managed service provider running their IT, which is really nice. They have proactive measures in place. They have adopted both Elements XM and XDR, and those are working together for proactive security outcomes. And these give them two superpowers. So the ability to discover vulnerabilities pre-zero day and to take preemptive mitigation actions on those.
So that means that for the defender, for the attacker, it gets interesting. They do get into the single host, but the method they tried previously doesn't work. So now they are stuck in there. They could try to figure out maybe internal phishing or something else for the lateral movement. But typically how it works is that these campaigns, when they send these phishes, they are not targeting only a single company. Either it's untargeted or it's targeting certain kind of industry. So if the initial payload gets further in some other destination, they are going to try that first. And that once again buys the defender time. It's all about slowing down the machine speed attacks into a situation where the defender has the advantage again on kicking them out.
All right, let's look at Elements Security Center for this company A. And here we can see that as part of the exposure management, Elements XM has detected or found a Citrix telemetry service privilege escalation vulnerability, just like Jarno described. So it has analyzed XDR sensor data, and that way deduced that there is this kind of vulnerability. And we have the familiar Luminen screen. So Luminen, our AI cyberpunk owl, has drafted description. What's this all about? What is the risk there? Including ways to mitigate. And as uninstallation is not an option here, so there is possibility to mitigate with response actions, essentially removing the directory permissions and nullifying the risk there. So we support in-app mitigation. And with just a few clicks, I'm able to apply the mitigation to all 3 targets that have it. But let's not isolate them. Let's update the permission. It's less disruptive. And just like that, we have now mitigated the risk totally. So same attack, same payload, same attacker. This time there wouldn't be major incident.
So attacker is not able to proceed as there is no vulnerability that they could use to escalate privileges. That means that they are going to go after next easier target.
So this is what cybersecurity must look like today to keep up with the AI-accelerated threat landscape. Not next year, not even next quarter, but today. And one last thing, and this one is for you, managed service providers sitting in the audience. What just happened there was that your customer didn't have a major incident. So no 2 a.m. call, no damage control, no incident investigation or aftermath, and you made that happen. And that is the power of proactive security. You are enabling business for your customer and not solving problems or solving things as they break.
So, reactive security generates work for our DFIR team whenever things go wrong. But at the same time, we are trying to make sure that also our DFIR team gets their good night's sleep, and we are trying to, as much as possible, prevent these proactively, so that you can prove that you are the reason why things didn't go wrong. That is stronger business and stronger conversation with every customer.
This is the way. Thank you very much.